I'm like, let me adjust my lighting. Let me see. No, that's just not. Anyway, I wrote on here military. The reason why is because oftentimes I think that we have a misunderstanding of conveyance, right? I am from the United States of America. So when we begin to think about opportunities and equality and things of that nature, it's just that we do have a lot of people who are readily, let's say, involved in, let's say, the Constitution or our rights or our liberties and so on and so forth. Okay. So I had wrote, oh, that's good. I had wrote someone or I had posted. There are people who have international cares. Okay. So with these international cares, it's no different than the conversations of the United Nations, um, European, African, Asian unions that we have in the international market. And I think that one of the first things that I had mentioned was that for us to be, people um, who come from different walks of life, that we're very much involved, or we should be involved in the things that are available to us. Okay, so that means being informed and getting involved and being a part of the labor. Okay, the labor department, the part of the employment opportunities that are available for us to be in the know. Okay, so what happens is that a lot of people, they may get their employer, and then once they get their employer, um, they have tasks and their duties, and it may not readily, let's say, be um, an independent thought or action, like for people who do contracts, people who focus on, let's say, federal business ops, so on and so forth. So anyway, some years ago, not that long ago, but some years ago, I was looking at the United Nations. I was looking at Volunteer America, and there was just some other ones too. And I started to inquire about volunteerism. Now, the thing is that people who that we were looking at who was volunteering were people who were either retired or people who were young. Okay, then we start to see a lot of, let's say, college students, and they would go to different places and so on and so forth. So when I think about my work and the places that I have been, um, I was looking for things that were aligned with my work to say, well, hey, what about this? What about that? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, the things that I would like to do for economic empowerment, okay, and investment. But these different entities, when I started to inquire with them, I mean, there's just that role, right? That you have to apply, then you have to go through a process, which is all good. And so I mention that because I want to inform people that it's good to go through those routes or go to those people because they give you a letter of reference. When I think about who I could get in contact for a letter of reference to say, yes, I was there, I'm going to tell you right now, it's like, what? And I know that I was doing this, I know I was doing that, but it wasn't there. But let's go into the military, okay? The U.S. Constitution reads, and it's not verbatim, about land, water, and sky, right? So now when you think about land, water, sky, you think about the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force, okay? So we have people who go into the military and they're employed, okay? So the military want to get people who are young. The reason why is because now they're trainable. Not only that, it's an opportunity for people who do join the military that they are able to um, have a career. Okay. Now, for people who are, let's say, conscious, which we all are, I was learning um, that a lot of people of color was not as involved in some of the new comms that was coming up, like AFRICOM and not CARICOM, AFRICOM and SOUTHCOM. Okay, so now when you're looking at, I'm not saying that they didn't have anybody, so don't get it twisted because I got some stuff, some information where we did have people who were of color that was a part of, let's say, one thing or the other, part of, let's say, conversations and stuff. They were communicating with groups of people who had an interest with the new development of, let's say, a military structure. Okay. So as I was looking at, let's say, manpower, I was like, well, I think it's a little unfair that we can have all these kind of pop ups and that people who want to have, let's say, a brigade or something, in which we're talking about predominantly, let's just say, people who come from the neighborhood or people who may not readily, um, let's say, qualify to be inside the military in its format, that there should be some funding available, especially looking at a minority situation. Okay. So when we're looking at a minority situation, then that means that if we're looking at color, I mean, we could go to human rights real quick. Okay. That is just disproportionately um, um, imbalance when it comes down to who is actually the head of state or the head of militaries in different places. Okay. So I don't know when we had our first. I know that we had Colin Powell, but when we had actually had our first military person, and I'm not talking about what's this? I don't even go. Don't get me going because then I have to search. Let me see. But the point was a brigade, a specialized brigade or a brigade that focused on people who wanted to be part of the military and then also wanted to be a part of, let's say, I was calling them responders at the time. Okay. So I was like, well, yes, it would be good for us to have a response team. So I was looking at search and rescue. There were some events that was going on at the time. And then, we had people who were concerned, but we didn't have people who was able to, let's just say people were okay. And I mean, and black people, white people, everybody. It's been like, but I want this brigade to be a special brigade. Okay. I wanted this to be a special. And I'm like, honey, we don't have to be tiptoeing and hiding and being in secret. We want to be out loud about it. No, seriously, because we want people to invest in that opportunity or that scope and that thought of us being a part of, let's just say, our nation and our world. No, seriously. Okay. So um, there was a couple of bases that were available, and one of the bases was in Atlanta. So I was putting pressing papers and stuff like that, like say Fort McPherson, because it's right there by the HBCU. And I was like, well, that should be an all black military base where we take on um, special training and ops or whatever with South and will really tell you the truth with all the comms, with all of them, not just one or two. But I know that I was saying South and I was also saying AFRICOM. Okay. The thing was is that I mean a sense of ownness. We could look at the different countries and we could say, okay, well they have a military, they have a military, and then I was like, well, you know what? I think that it would be good that if Black people had, let's say, a funded military within the United States, a special brigade where people we could have a sense of pride. Okay, because we can sit there and talk about slavery all day long. We could talk about the wage of war or the art of war. And then you have people who just say, well, you know what? They are American. And then I say, well, if we're saying we're American, then we are from the Western Hemisphere, North America. Okay. So when I started to do some inquisition, we do have three continents on this side of the spectrum. We have the North American continent, which is comprised of Canada, United States of America, and the Caribbean. Okay. And Central America. And then we have, no, two. And then we have South America. Okay. So South America was actually much newer, just like Australia. I think, yeah, it's Australia. Okay. Because after World War II, some of the names were changed and some countries split, And I know that, we can have the conversation all day long about um, some countries wanted to go north and south, and we saw Sudan go north and south. We saw, if people do know that India went to Pakistan. Okay, so India has split to Pakistan. Then there was also Bangladesh. Okay, so there was other things that was going on too. Like we ended up getting maybe another continent, maybe one or two new continents. It's not to be like, oh, no, 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 no. That's not. Oh, this is we're in secret. It is no. It really is a buildup because I started to ask about ranks and merit at people who were in the military, and not just the military, because now we're looking at, let's say, paramilitary, where they are para officers, where they want to do a split with officers and the military. So you'll see these people, they come dressed up and all that other kind of stuff. Okay. So I was like, well, you know what? Well, we could look, we want the training. Yes, we want to be trained. We want the technology, all of those different kind of things. No, seriously. I mean, I was just out there like, no, save Fort McPherson, leave it for the HBCU, this, that, and the other. So anyway, we started having this little kind of conversation about human rights, and the conversation with human rights. It was like, okay, well, I understand all of that, and I want to tell my fellow brothers and sisters of the world, I don't care what color you are. There is a reason why um, there's been this kind of this black and white thing, and if any of us really have studied history, we know that, um, for some of us, and so for some of us, we know that there was war. There was war. Okay, so then they made it the interesting part of war, a sexual war. And then the interesting thing about the sexual war is that we start talking about melon. Okay. And I was like, okay, what is this melon thing, right? Well, they start talking about melanin, the pigment, our pigmentation. So we get to the pigs, and we come to here, there's the melanin in our skin. And all this, I'm like, Lord have mercy, we on human rights. Okay. But in regards to men getting adequate training as it comes to, let's just say, I was like, well, man scouts. Then I think it would be, we have Boy Scouts of America. Some of the basic things. Oh, here it is. They go over there and I'm like, honey, this is not no Tuskegee, okay? Where we want to talk about we on the South and we in Central. You understand where I'm coming from? This doesn't make any sense. There would be no reason for the military to be like, oh, no. I'm like, honey, y'all got money and y'all also interested. There's investment dollars going to the HBCU. And then, yeah, here it is. Rarely we have people who are interested in those kind of things. Why not? Okay. And I mean a full brigade that was black. Let me see Richard Pryor's. I'll come right back. Richard Pryor. What was that? Um, the little brigade he was in. It's coming. One moment. Army Brigade. Richard Pryor. And I mean, that's not the only one. I mean, we look at these different movies and so on and so forth. I just want to get the Black Brigade. See what I mean? And the thing is that if we were looking at some things as if we don't care, the question would be the human rights that are going on around the world and having the military accountable for some actions. And so when we look at the mill, we're looking at land. Okay. So the military is able to build up land no different than they're able to have some land at discount. Okay. Um, and then, the Constitution, the way that it reads is that, and then when they're doing, let's say, foreign policies and stuff like that with the military, they want 100 control over whatever it is that they're doing. Okay, so I'm like, well, honey, if we have 100 control, we want to be a part of it. You understand what I'm saying? And then when you start talking about one thing or the other, you're dang all right. It's not to be like, oh, okay, well, we want, but yes, honey, yes, We have the military, and then we have little special brigades. It could be out of each one, or it could just be one good one, like one, one that goes into the different areas of the world, just like everybody else. Okay, so I have been at a conversation. Yeah, I mean, and then, I'm sorry, that's just not the only one. For those who like the military and things like that, we do have an onset of different um, Black people who have participated in the military. I know that readily there's been some conversation with the military as it for the Tuskegee Airmen. I mean, it's okay. It's not the only one. And I know that we've had some known movies as Saving Private Ryan, and I like this one. Not we were soldiers. Was this We Were Soldiers? That was a good movie. Yeah, I like We Were Soldiers. And of course, I like Demi Moore and her movie too. G.I. Jane. But anyway, I don't want anybody to get any misconception about what Irene Ratliff is saying when I'm sending you the information. I know that readily we thinking for real our manpower locally, and then some people are just somewhat like, wow, we're some people have been incarcerated or they don't think that hope is available for them. And then that was my argument or my thought that we do want to get funded for people who may have been incarcerated and who can give back to, let's say, our world and our society. One of the things that was going on was the migrant farmers. So this lady, she started having conversation about oh, that's good, having conversation about immigration. And the thing is, when we start looking at immigration, that's something else. I can have a conversation on immigration. I am concerned about those walls because we did have Ronald Reagan talking about Germany tear down those walls, and we're willing to spend 1 point something billion dollars to put up a wall just down the street. I don't think so. When I started thinking about it, I'm like, are we all in that mix? Why is those walls being built up like that? Well, if we start looking at South, there was some things that was going on during World War II, and there was a mass um, movement, movement out of South and Central. Okay, and then here it is, we're in the North, and then there was some people who had migrated from on the side of the Pacific. Okay, so I know readily people are talking about one continent, and I'm gonna be the first woman to let you know I would have removed your thought. Oh no, I'm sorry, remove your thought. I know it's someplace else, but I'll be like encouraging you to think about the world differently from my perspective. But of course, we can keep our comments to ourselves so you can see it posted on streetmeatcompany.org or Street Meat Company Facebook. And of course, I got to be good with that. Yeah, not nothing negative. It's positive in regards to the work and the effort. Because I'm like, for real, we have people who were in the military, and then I was asking some of my fellows, hey, I mean, is there a Black brigade there in the military that specializes or support Black people? I mean, I understand that here it is. They want to talk about slave and master, but I read that servant was also inclusive to an employee. Okay, so now we have a seat. However Duffy it is, we just be a part of it. No, seriously. And that will also be some of these unions have a seat, a chair, however it goes, that we ever, whatever it is for us to have our little nameplate right there in the front. You know how it go. One moment. Let me see, not that one. Yeah, have the nameplate in the front, and we're involved because we want to be in the know. Let me see, is that it? Can you see it? We want to be in the know what's going on in the world and be able to share that information. And yes, reiterating, having the military accountable. I don't think that if we're giving them all the power with all this foreign policies and stuff like that, then that means that they're doing whatever the fuck they want to do. and we want to be a part of whatever that fucking thing is. That part. And there's just so many different things. That's why I'm like, even looking at what the military is doing. I mean, they're one of the largest suppliers in regards to also employment, contracting. And so anyway, when I would start talking about the search and rescue, I was also looking at how building. Okay, so they give out contracts for building. The Army has one of the most sophisticated engineers because they do build. Okay, so the U.S. Army, they do build. Matter of fact, a lot of people, once they build, a lot of people do move around the military base, and stuff like that. When we look at Fort McPherson was actually more populated than what it was. Now, we could say, well, yes, once they had moved out, but then that would not be entirely true. A lot of those homes were occupied by some of the residents, but they were also very full because people were living around the military base. Okay, let me see. Can we see this one? Okay, people have not that way. Oh, let me see if it goes this way. My flowers. That's Irene. Let me see. Go. I can't see it real good here. And then of course the military have their flags and their emblems and things like that. Let me see. Can you see that? Something like that. And then when you start talking about funding and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, anyway, go ahead. Go see this. These people who are being retired out of the military, the point will be yes, we want their point, want their support, and that part is true, right? Yes, the truth. Okay, so it's not negative. Oh, here it is. It's brown. Is this? No, 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 no. Then they want to sit there and be like they own the military, go into something else. They want to go into the military and be talking about gangbangers. Okay, I don't know if people had are familiar with the Bible. I think what's his name? The King Nebuchadnezzar, whatever it is. Nebuchadnezzar. Is it it? Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, let me see. The king with clay feet. Anyway, it was describing the king. Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. Yeah. Oh, they have an image of about time. Good Lord, somebody drew the thing. Yes, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, by the prophet Daniel, as recounted in the book of Daniel. Anyway, they describe him in different layers of his being, right? Well, why did I go there? Well, the thing is that involvement, and when we begin to look at, ourselves, and they be like, oh, okay, well, listen, these group of people, they hold on, these group of people, and then these group of people, and then this group of people, and it's just like, well, we want to be a part of those group of people too. Let me see how they have this. Yeah, iron and clay. Then they want to talk about this being brass and all this other kind of stuff. Okay, so the point, it seemed like it's a lot of work. And I think that one of the things, oh, it'll take so long. Oh, is this? Oh, is that? And before you know it, you'll have a degree. You have employment. Oh no, we ain't gonna go there about well-being, but it becomes so true. It doesn't take so long to conceive a baby. Once you have good sex and the woman conceives, it's 9 months later she has a little baby. Taking care of ourselves. I understand that also true. Something seems like it's just overnight. It would be good to say overnight celebrity. But I don't want us to worry about some things, okay? I understand fear runs a lot of different people. Some people sway away from helping themselves out of fear. And I'm like, well, fear about what? The tax man said even the judge has to go to the in front of the tax man. I'm the tax woman. Let's go. Anyway, TTYL people, hugs and kisses. Yes, I support a black brigade. And yes, all these significant people, including those in the judicial, executive, and legislative areas of branch of our government, your support is greatly wanted. Oh yeah. Did I finish saying that? Okay. About the about volunteering and using and supporting people who may have been incarcerated, people who may have, and I think that's kind of like really to tell you the truth how that was going, because now you're looking at manpower. And they were willing to, and talking about the military and they were willing to bring in other people, but then looking at it, it has something to do with the Department of Labor. Outside of just talking about labor as it relates to construction. Oh yeah. Let me mention that too. So it was construction, search and rescue, construction, search and rescue, technology. I mean, everything that the military has to offer. Oh yeah. Did I mention that? Um, that the United States Army or the United States military, they actually, as it relates to transportation industry is the largest transportation or employer in the United States. Okay, so transportation, how our products and stuff move. Okay, and then that goes hand in hand with goods and services. It's just so true. Did I say all of that? I was just trying to make sure I went back over the points. Anyway, I'll come back with military too. Talk to you later. TTYL people. Hugs and kisses.